What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics Show live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube channel. Happy Friday, guys. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor before we get started. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up on the screen here with your host. I'm one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The NBA trade deadline has come and gone. The Sixers were active. Daryl Morey was active, but in what way? We're going to break down the trade deadline. I know Scotty went over it around 5 p.m. last night on the YouTube channel and the Scotty Talks NBA YouTube channel as well. So got a little bit of his thoughts out there, but we'll go back and forth today, man, on what the Sixers did. Let's just break down real quick for everybody the deals that transpired, right? And then we'll kind of get into our thoughts. So Daryl Morey starts the morning off while we're live here on the show and trades with the Pacers to bring in Buddy Hield. He moves on from Furkan Korkmaz. He moves on from Marcus Morris and 3 second-round picks. It was a great way to start the trade deadline off for the 76ers, and it made you think they're going to be serious buyers today. Maybe speeds up the Joel Embiid timeline. This is a great sign. Yeah. Then, as we're still on the show, he moves Daniel House to I believe, to the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks, via the Knicks, a second-round pick was also sent over there, opened up cap space for the 76ers. Okay, a move is coming. Then around 2:30, Pat Bev Pod tweets out that Patrick Beverley has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. In return, the Sixers bring in Cam Payne. We'll talk about that one exclusively in a little bit as well. And then you're kind of thinking for a second, Scotty, okay, something's coming. He made that move, money, draft picks, whatever the case may be. Something else is coming in the final hour. Is it Andre Drummond? I don't know. And all that Daryl Morey did in the final hour of the NBA trade deadline was move on from former first-round pick Jaden Springer. Remind you that was 2 years ago. A first-round pick of 2 years ago that just started to flash a little bit, specifically on the defensive end of things against Jordan Clarkson, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, all in the last week or so. And he trades them to the Boston Celtics for a second-round draft pick. So you lost value on your not-so-long-ago first-round draft pick, who was actually starting to contribute to this team, and sent him to your literal arch rival in the Eastern Conference. I bet that won't come back to bite them in the ass one day, Scotty.
And you thought with the Pat Bev move that, like, okay, you can bring in Kyle Lowry now, but wouldn't that open up more opportunity for Jaden Springer to get playing time? Like, doesn't Pat Bev and Jaden Springer overlap a little bit and you get rid of both? Like, I don't know.
And I would like to point out that I am not like the world's biggest Jaden Springer fan. I had no problem moving him yesterday if it was to acquire, if the Bulls were looking for young talent and it was a way to bring, to add into a package for Caruso or Drummond, I would have been all for it. But you go out and you move him for a second-round pick to the Boston Celtics. It's just like, for what? Like, was his little bit of salary that important to you to get rid of, to open up for whether it's the buyout market or the off season? Like, I just didn't understand it. Why I'm so confused. And listen, here's where I'll start off. All right. I still believe somehow, some way, after all those 4 or so moves, the 76ers, when potentially fully healthy now, are a better basketball team than they were to start yesterday. I really believe that Buddy Hield over Furkan, Daniel House, Marcus Morris, and yes, even Pat Bev. I believe Buddy Hield added to this lineup with his three-point shooting, his shot creation, all of that makes the Sixers a better team on the basketball floor right now when they're healthy. The problem was, Daryl, the goalposts had moved. Once Joel went out for 4+ weeks, once you have this illness going around, once you have D-Melt and Batum and Covington, and they all can't come back still for some reason, you had to do more. So he played it where he, to me, made them better with that Buddy Hield move, started off the day by being buyers, but then somehow went into sell mode and opening up cap space and bringing in a couple extra second-round picks after trading some away. I don't know what he did. That's where I'm at the next morning. Scotty, I don't know what he accomplished yesterday.
Yeah. You knew my initial reaction, and I even calmed down by the time I did the show yesterday, to sit back and look at things, but it's overall confusing. And it's just, and from that standpoint of confusion, it's typical from the Sixers. And that's my problem with it, man. It's confusing all around. I get it, the Patrick Beverley thing, we'll get into that. The Jaden Springer thing, if you want to move off these guys, fine. And if you need those second round picks to, in return, get an Andre Drummond, then things start to make a little bit more sense. Or not Andre Drummond, but just something else, some other big man option that's on the market, right? And they didn't do that. They traded Jaden Springer. Right. You basically, in the last hour and a half, traded your two best perimeter defenders. Which fine, right? Fine. Their value isn't the highest in the world. They're not going to be these missing players, but you trade them to your direct competition.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem with it.
And right now, with all these injuries, this is a team depleted on the defensive end of the court.
Yeah. And I get it. It's both sides, right? They've been struggling offensively. I get that. But the defense, there's people out there. This is also another thing that's bothering me. There's people out there that are acting bringing in offensive improvements is going to help without Embiid. It's going to help, but it's also going to detract at the defensive end, where we are suffering significantly on the defensive end of things. Now, obviously, there's just no way you can replace Joel Embiid. So maybe that's the idea behind it, is score more than the other team, because you're not going to replace Joel as an anchor.
I guess, but then wouldn't you have gone harder in a sense to acquire even more scoring? Here's where I'm at as well.
I see Daniel Gafford go to Dallas. I see, Xavier Tillman. These are not world beaters. These are not the best.
No, but they're serviceable.
But they're better.
Yeah.
They're better than what we have. And
they could play a role on this team as a backup when Joel's back. In a role right now with him out to help, easing the load on Paul Reed and everything. This is kind of where I'm at and why things were so confusing for me right now in the moment. Because, Scott, me and you were a little bit different on the Pat Bev trade. Look, I don't like the Pat Bev trade. I loved Pat Bev being here. Yeah. I'm not as mad as everybody else moving on from him and bringing in campaign and everything. But with that said, I, at that point in time, thought Daryl Morey was getting geared up for an additional move. So at that point in time, 2-3 p.m. yesterday, I thought Daryl Morey was actually having a good day, because in my mind, if you brought in Buddy Hield, campaign shoots 40% from three, if you add Kyle Lowry in the buyout market and you traded for Andre Drummond at 330, that would be a hell of a day for the 76ers. Yeah. But then he didn't do anything else. And that's where he took 8 steps backwards for me. Because now what is the plan? You're going heavy in the buyout market? Well, Kyle Lowry hasn't been bought out yet. And if he's going to, if you're that confident, that can't be the only thing you're doing, is going all in for Kyle Lowry in the buyout market. What are you going to do? Well, Robin Lopez?
That's what I'm saying. Bismack Biyombo is the guy that I saw floated out by people. Come on, man.
Yeah. Come on. And Spencer Dinwiddie's one of the hottest names.
Oh
what are we going to do? We're going to trade for Ballchuck, or not trade, but we're going to sign Ballchuck, Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench for this team. I don't get it. And this is the other thing, man. You let the Knicks go out and make the perfect move yesterday, because I'm assuming here this hasn't been leaked or anything, but probably because you weren't willing to give up Tobias Harris, who's going to walk in the offseason anyway, or should be walking in the offseason anyway. Because I swear to God, if he gets re-signed here, I'm going to lose my mind. Right. But he's going to walk for nothing, essentially, after this year, when you could have traded him and brought in Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic, added that to Buddy Hield. Scotty, think about that fucking lineup for a second. Think about that lineup. If you had fully healthy Tyrese Maxey
offense, that's the lineup. That's the route that you go. And I didn't understand that either. There were people talking about, do you really think that trading Tobias for Bojan and Burks is a better move for this? I don't know. I don't know if it would end up being better. Bojan seems like he would be a better fit with the
I think
Sixers than
Bojan
Tobias Harris.
Bogdanovic is a better basketball player than Tobias Harris at this
He's
point.
better basketball. Yeah, like literally, he's a better scorer. He's a better basketball player, better basketball IQ. Like
Yep.
I didn't understand that.
And then you add in a bucket off the bench and Alec Burks.
We've already done the Tobias Harris thing. We've already tried it
over and over again. Dude, we've done the Tobias Harris
thing. Half a year of Bojan. Like why
Tobias
not?
Harris has been anywhere from a second to fourth option in this starting five over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We've done it over and over with him in different roles and different capacities, and nothing changes. See, that's where, again, I come back to the word confused, because it felt like he went from buyer to seller. But if you were going to sell,
you would have sold Tobias.
Tobias Harris shouldn't be here.
And
if you really wanted to open up cap space right now for a trade or whatever the case may be, Tobias Harris would not be here. If you wanted more draft picks, he would not be here. So you're in this weird middle ground that you stuck yourself in, where you maybe got better for this year, but you're you're clearly not all in. I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. And that's where it got to like the Pat Bevs and the Jaden Springers of the world. And like you're okay with like moving them for financial purposes, bring draft compensation back, like build your draft stock, right? But Tobias Harris, the like biggest asset that you could literally sell and replace, and you don't do that. That's the confusing part for me, because I don't know, man. Like obviously the Pat Bev thing with campaign, I know it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. It definitely rubbed me the wrong way, honestly. Like if I'm being completely honest, I didn't like it because it felt like Pat Bev provided something that the Sixers simply do not have in their organization, like let alone like the locker room. They don't have it in their organization, and that's accountability, that's leadership, that's hard-nosed, like all of it, right? And I get it. It all equates out to 6 points per game, right? It's culture, it's vibes, it's podcast. The thing that rubbed me wrong was people like Tyrone Johnson on 97.5 yesterday saying, how do you know that Patrick Beverley is a leader? Like, how do you know? The podcast? Like, no, it's not the podcast, bro. Like, I listened to the podcast, yes, to get inside information on the Sixers and to find out more about what's going on in the locker room. You learn that Pat Bev is a leader by the way his teammates talk about him.
Yeah.
The things that Tyrese Maxey posted yesterday on social media.
He did say that a source that covers the team texted him and said that the locker room idea is laughable. But I don't. Yeah. So again, like you're taking people for their word right now. Like just like and because here's the other side of the table. We can't sit here and be like, is that true what Tyrone said or what the source said? But at the same time, we can't sit here and say, well, Pat Bev's telling the truth when Daryl Morey said he wasn't going to trade. You don't know. That's the thing. Yeah. Everyone's so up in arms. Maybe. And I'm not calling Patrick Beverley a liar. But we don't. I mean, come on, man. He gets traded, and 2 minutes later, he comes out with this thing that Daryl Morey told him. GMs don't operate that way, bro. And I know the Harden thing and everything, but I find it odd that a GM would look at a player in his eyes and go, "You're not going anywhere." Or also someone had pointed this out on Twitter, which is a very good point, man. That could have been Daryl's intention. And then he got a call at 2 p.m. on trade deadline day and thought maybe this makes it better. This is where I'm at. Again, but the other side of it is just business, but did it make you better or even marginally better? Probably not. Probably like the only thing that I can say, which is what Tyrone was kind of saying if you were listening to him right at the start, like when I was your best player is Embiid. Your focus is on building around Embiid. The goal is that he comes back for the playoffs. When he's in the game, you want as many floor spacers and three-point shooters around him. Pat Bev shoots 32%. Payne shoots over 39% from three this season. So that's the only area you could say Cam Payne is a better basketball player than Patrick Beverley.
Better ball handler. Like I do get it. The
mentality, the defense,
thing that worries
toughness, I do understand it.
Is the IQ. That's what
I
worries
agree.
me with Cameron Payne. Like,
And
you
this,
already
man.
have Kelly Oubre, you have DeAnthony
Yeah.
Melton, you have Tobias Harris on your team, you have Paul Reed on this team, and now you're going to add Cam Payne, another guy that goes out on the court and really doesn't look like he has a clue of what he's doing sometimes. And I don't know. I got called a bitch on Twitter yesterday for crying about like people calling Cam Payne an upgrade. I don't know what I've seen from Cam Payne. He looks like another
What
low
makes me laugh
IQ
about that
jacker.
comment, bro? You know what makes me
But
laugh about that comment is like someone will call you a bitch for overreacting or being emotional about a trade, but the fact that you had to call me a bitch over this, you're just as emotional or overreactionary to the same thing.
and then he said, well, there's a bunch of professionals that work for the Sixers that agree with him. It's like, dog. All right, so you're just riding the Daryl Morey coat,
Right? Exactly. So it's by that
okay.
logic, anything that a team does is
fine.
correct because they're
Correct,
professionals.
because they're
Okay.
professionals.
Well,
They know what they're doing.
not how the world of analysis or the world of sports and business just go. Because wrong and incorrect moves are made all the time. So let's stop that. This one, this is the part. This was the
part.
what
Yeah.
this should have been the finisher of the day.
Yeah.
And would have materialized into a very good day, in my opinion.
It would have made sense. Everything would have made sense.
When that didn't happen and no other big came in, that's when the day turned into very blah to me. Just maybe we're better.
I agree.
Maybe we're slightly better, but not what I thought was about to happen.
Yeah.
Because again, the goalpost had moved, and maybe that's not, I get it. Maybe that's not totally fair, man, with all this news coming down in a week. I would ask you this. I kind of tweeted it out. If Joel Embiid wasn't hurt, but the rest of the team wasn't just destroyed by illness and injuries right now, and Daryl Morey acquired Buddy Hield, Cam Payne, and then Kyle Lowry in the buyout market, and added those three scorers and shooters and everything, to what was already a Sixers team that we loved a few weeks ago and thought were a lot of fun and could win. If he added those guys to this team, we'd probably be applauding it. The problem is circumstances changed with these injuries. That might not be fair, but the bottom line is, dude, you're trying to avoid a play-in tournament before Joel Embiid comes back. And you just didn't do enough.
And I mean,
to move past it.
Are they so like I'm just curious what the conversations are behind the scenes with like Joel. Like, are you selling to Joel like Paul George this summer? Like, is that what you know what I mean? Like, is that the plan?
I'd have a question.
That, like,
what the hell are you selling to Paul George to get him here? To move him away from his hometown team that, by the way, might win a championship this season.
Like that's the plan. That's the plan. Like, that's the golden ticket at the end of the road, right? Like, Paul George, 34 years old. Paul George moved from California to Philadelphia across the country. Like, that can't be the plan. And that's what concerned me about yesterday, Dylan. Daryl Morey as a whole, because let me be honest. I was a little upset about Pat Bev. I wouldn't have done the trade, but I am over it. I'm over it now. I moved past it. It bothered me yesterday. It didn't really make sense in the moment. Didn't make sense after.
If Cam Payne comes in over the weekend and knocks down 3 out of 4 from deep, okay, well then,
if he gives me some props to lay on betting sites, then let's do it. Whatever. But it's really the fact that Daryl Morey, man, he feels predictable to me, and that feels like a problem. Like, everything that we tried or did yesterday, as far as bringing players in, was predictable. Like, Buddy Hield is somebody that we've been talking about for 5 years. Like, we as Sixers fans could have maneuvered and figured out how to get those trades done yesterday for Buddy Hield and for Andre Drummond. Like, we could have done that. Like I'm not being overconfident here. Like, the money is laid out in front of you. On a fucking contract site, you can see what the contract is, and you can see how to move it and how it equals out. Like, my problem is that I watch these other GMs. I'm watching the Knicks go out and do what we want the Sixers to do. Like, if you told me that the Sixers went out since the beginning of this season and acquired OG Anunoby, acquired Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks
and
and added it to the team. After you already brought in Jalen Brunson last offseason, you brought in whoever else, right? The Villanova
Josh Hart,
product,
Dante
right? Josh
DiVincenzo.
Hart. They've built this team perfectly. And that's the other thing. It's like this team should be in Philadelphia, brother. Yeah. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And now these things that have been talked about over the past few years, all the Knicks fans that are like, yeah, send Embiid to the Knicks, send Embiid to the. It now looks like a great destination to go to.
Yeah, right.
It now looks like a team that is just missing an MVP, top 3 player in the world, top player in the world for them to get a championship. They look like a team with the perfect depth to go behind Joel Embiid. Like, these are the things I'm looking at now, man. And I'm asking myself, what is Daryl Morey presenting to Joel Embiid behind the scenes?
Which
now, like you said, this team might be better. This team very well could be better than what it was. And if he comes back this season, it looks that way, so on and so forth, we'll figure it out. But if he doesn't come back this season,
that's the disappointing.
What's the plan for next year? LeBron or PG? Exactly. Like LeBron or PG from LA?
Exactly, man. That's why everyone's talking about draft picks and salary cap for the offseason. Like, it's nice. If this was any other offseason, we'd be setting up beautifully.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson and Tobias Harris are atop the free agent list right now.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys understand that? Do you really get that? And if you're playing, like, here's what I don't get. So everyone's just confident. Everyone's confident that this dude is going to trade for someone in the offseason. Like, that's what's going to materialize. Well, maybe not sign him through free agency, but bring in that contract via trade with these 3 first-round picks and everything. Well, what is he? I mean, at this point, and I've been kind of a supporter of Daryl Morey from a couple of different Sixers fans.
I have too.
At this point, what has he shown you to make you believe that something's going to materialize into this offseason? That's what I just can't.
The James Harden deal, like, to be fair, that's the biggest deal he made when he came to Philadelphia, and he already had a previous connection with James Harden.
Right.
Like, that's like, that's a caveat. Like, that's not you.
And let me seriously ask you this, right? Now, we don't know their relationships out west. We don't know how much they talk, how close they are.
Yeah.
But we're talking about convincing Paul George to come over here. Meanwhile, his teammate who was traded there from Daryl Morey a few months ago publicly called him a liar and that he will never
better than him.
Yeah, that will never be his friend or trust him again. Now, they're in the same locker room, winning, number 1 seed out west.
Yeah.
Sure, they're talking off the floor. You think that wouldn't be talked about at all?
Right. That's
if Paul George was even thinking about going here. Hey, man. Hey, bro. Why shouldn't I go to Philly? You think James is going to have something supportive to say about Daryl and the way he works and operates?
Right.
Probably not. So you're already trying to convince Paul George to move from his hometown, his home state, playing for his hometown team that might win, that is in a position to win, by the way, to come across the country at this point of his career. I don't see it.
Bring your family, bring your kids. You're 34 years old. I'm sure you're pretty settled in with your pod and everything out in LA. Like, I'm not saying that Paul George will never play outside LA again. No. He's just never going to play outside LA again by his own choice.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, sure, he could get traded to Philadelphia, but what mid-season next year at age 35? Like, I don't understand.
Which they're not going to do, man. But so that part bothers me. The Joel tweet. What'd you think of that, man?
I really didn't know what to think of it, honestly. I mean, obviously, he's probably trolling, right?
Yeah. Like, but at what point can I ask you? Like, here's something again that pisses me off. I want to catch some heat for this.
Yeah,
brother. You're not on the floor again.
Yeah.
You're out for over a month again.
Yeah.
You're the reason the goalposts have been moved at the deadline. Not your fault. I'm just stating why things have changed and the direction has changed because you're not on the floor.
Yeah.
So whether you're trolling the fan base, whether you're trolling your GM, whether you're just messing around altogether, or whether you're serious, whether he's trolling but kind of serious, like, man, we didn't get good enough while the Knicks and these other teams, but you're not out there. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, this is my point, man. Read the room. And I know some people loved it. People were quote tweeting it. Oh, he puts out a great tweet every now and then, even though he's blah, blah, blah. No, it's not the time, bro.
Yeah. Can't read a
You were
room,
the
man.
MVP again. You scored 71. You were averaging 36. This was it. The team around you was perfect at the moment. And I'm sorry, I'm tired of people talking about that right now with this, with how the Sixers are playing right now. Stop talking about the Sixers team when they were fully healthy as if, no, they weren't constructed correct. Yes, they were. Nicholas Batum, Kelly, they were constructed great around Joel Embiid this season.
That's the thing with the Patrick Beverley and the Jaden Springer move is like if Embiid's back, you bring in Buddy Hield,
right?
You can just stop right there. Like you can stop right there and just leave it the way it is, right? Like you could stop right there, or maybe just trade one of Pat Bev and Jaden Springer, right? Like that's
Lowry. Even like you bring in Lowry off the buyout market. Like he's a guy. He could be in the playoffs. We've seen a knockdown 3-point shooter that averages double digits for his team in the postseason.
Bring him in as well.
Yeah, like that's the point. That's the kind of thing that Scotty. I'm hanging my hat on right now, man. It's the one just glimmer of hope I have, and Marshawn Lynch is going to kill me because I know he's got no glimmer of hope right now. Is that the rest of the guys get healthy soon, and Joel's back in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. That's games before the playoff starts. If you get that, I sit back and I go, well, hold on. Why would we be so down on this team? If you get all of that, if you get fully healthy 76ers, there's really nothing wrong with this team outside of backup big still, outside of just Paul Reed having to play as the backup center for a couple minutes. Oh, it's a failed strategy for the organization. I'm just telling you as a fan, like just what I'm trying to hang on to come March, come April is, and I said it out this way, man, because we get so lost in the moment. Take me back 4 weeks ago, when this team and Joel's dropping 48 against Jokic and they're beating Denver in Philadelphia and they're beating the Suns and they're beating the Lakers and they're beating the T-Wolves and the Kings shorthanded and OKC. And they're just rattling off these wins, winning 7 in a row, surrounding Joel Embiid with all those guys. We thought what, Scotty? Be honest. We thought that this team was legit. They're legit. And if you add, so now you add Buddy Hield, maybe a Kyle Lowry and a 40% shooter in campaign. You add all of that to that team. Why would we be so negative in the playoffs? That's what I'm trying to hang my hat on.
Yeah.
Because you give me Tyrese Maxey, Buddy Hield, Nick Batum, Tobias. Yes, I know, but still Tobias, Joel, starting 5, bench, Kelly, D-Melt. Roko's going to play at some point this year, so he's a wing defender. You have that a 3-and-D type of guy. Kyle Lowry and Paul Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's better than any other Sixers team we've
had. It is.
Past.
It's a lot that has to go right because, like, on the other side of things, I just think of Nick Batum, who's been a great piece here. Hamstring injury, 40 years old. Like, hopefully, you know what I mean? Like you said, we have to hope. Like, I'm looking at D-Mel and I'm like, man, since he's gotten to the Sixers, he's had a bad back. Like, does a bad back, like, fix itself? Is he going to come back and, like, look explosive at all? Or is he going to look like D-Melt from last year where he just can't finish at the rim? He can't dunk. He can't get up for layups. These are the things I worry about. But these are things that, what can you do about it at the end of the day anyways, though? But I think that's what it brought to me yesterday was, like, bringing things to fruition. But to your point, man, if you get Buddy Hield next to Maxey, next to Embiid, It's going to open up the floor. It does make them a better team, especially from the starting lineup perspective. I
think
do get it. It's
if we got our
yesterday was
dream,
just like it was like one of those moments where the
a punch
Sixers
in the
could have
gut.
proved
Yeah.
that they can read a room.
Yeah.
And they
Well,
failed to
dude,
read the
especially
room.
when you're talking
Like, they
about
failed.
Woj and Windhorst on TV and on Twitter, talking about how the Sixers are going to be right in the center of these last
Yeah.
couple of hours. And, they were right in the center of it, all
Yeah.
right. Trading
Telling.
away former first-round picks for second-round draft capital.
And
Like,
once
so
again,
that's what
it's where
frustrates
you
me.
trade these guys to as well, man. Like, it's where you trade them to, the destination. Like, you're telling me no other team in the Western Conference wanted Jaden Springer for a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't send him anywhere else other than Boston, where it can come back and bite you directly.
Right. Which, by the way, every
with
deal
Pat
we've
Bev.
done with Boston probably over the last decade has bit us in the ass.
Jason Tatum.
Right. Which, again, they would have never had
Al
Jason
Horford.
Tatum. I understand that. But the
Al
point is,
Horford.
you go back and you move the spot and everything, man.
Yeah, even Drew Holiday now. They just always come back and bite us, man. Like, and Jaden Springer, man, I'm just waiting for that playoff series against the Boston Celtics where they throw Jaden Springer on Tyrese Maxey and give him hell. I'm waiting for it. I just can't wait. And the same thing with the Bucks on a lesser scale, because I don't think Pat Bev has the defensive intangibles that Springer has, but they will try it, right? They're going to throw Pat Bev to be that annoying little gnat on whoever they play, right? Whether it's the Hawks and Trae Young, like whatever guards they're going to play, you give the Bucks a nice little pest in their backcourt to go along with Dame, man. It's just odd. It's odd. You give a guy that played for Doc Rivers before back to Doc Rivers. Like, I get it. It's a business.
Hold on.
I mean,
By the way, Doc Rivers is doing extraordinary Doc Rivers work in Milwaukee at the moment.
Do we thank him or what? Like, because he's doing some
my God, bro, Scotty.
Here.
Like, see, that's the other thing, right? That's the other side of the coin too, where I sit back and I go, and I know it's a major if they're fully healthy come playoff time, and it's just Joel needing to get in better shape and conditioning. I mean, it's just Boston that stands in mind. The Knicks, if they're fully healthy, they're a very good team. I got a question. Have the Knicks proven anything? This group has not played together for a single second. OG's out for a couple weeks. Randall's out for a couple weeks. They've never been to an Eastern Conference Finals over the last couple of years.
Deep. They're super deep.
They are. But they are. My question
it just feels like they have a guy in those critical moments that's just going to kill you. Like, Dante DiVincenzo is going to hit 5 3-pointers in a playoff game for them and win them a playoff game.
Yes.
Like, Bojan Bogdanovic is going to come in and score 22, 23 points in a playoff game and win them a playoff game. Like, that's how I'm looking at the Knicks.
Or Julius Randle is going to continue to chuck and shoot like 3 for 20 on a playoff game. And you're okay. I would just say, fully healthy, I know the Knicks made big-time plays over the last couple weeks, man, and they are deep. They're talented. They have it all. If the Sixers were fully healthy with the best player in the world, I'm not taking the New York Knicks over the 76ers. I'm just not doing it until proven otherwise once. I'm not doing it. So I look at it from that perspective. The Heat, right? The playoff Jimmy always seems to turn it up. Maybe he still will. They don't feel like the same Heat, right? They don't feel like that same team. The Bucks with Doc Rivers, the Cavs, the Magic, the Pacers, the Bulls, the Hawks. It would be the Celtics. That's it. But we'll see, man.
Right now,
I thought the Doc Rivers thing is absolutely hilarious. First of all, they need one requirement they need to hold Doc to is that he's no longer allowed to do post-game pressers. They need to remove the microphone from his job description. Bro, he has to be joking with that list of excuses he gave the other night.
It's so typical of Doc, man.
Oh my God.
It's so typical of him.
and then he lost by what? 30 last night on his home floor to Minnesota?
Yeah, to Minnesota.
What are you going to tell me? I didn't have Chris Middleton.
Oh, Cleveland's on an 8-game win streak themselves. Yeah, no, the East is interesting. It's weird, but we'd play the Knicks right now in the first round.
I would say I was actually
in
thinking
that
about this
home
last
court
night. I'm glad you
advantage.
said that the East is interesting. And I mean this, man. You guys can call me crazy. The East to me is deeper than it's been in a long time this year, but it's more open than it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
Because to me, there were always probably 3 teams that you were just like, the Sixers aren't, the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Heat have been 3 teams that stand in their way, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. It's the Celtics, man. And I'm telling you, you made that Doc Rivers move to Milwaukee. I mean, it is almost laughable to think that they're going to make an NBA Finals or Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, it is. It honestly is.
The Cavs, man. Like, oh, they're on an 8-game win streak. The Cavs. Like, seriously, the Cavs. No, they don't scare. They're not going to stand in my way if Joel Embiid's on the basketball floor. The Heat aren't the same. Like, there's more teams, sure, but there's less dominant teams aside from Boston that stands in the Sixers' way for my money.
Yeah.
So I'm pleading for Joel Embiid to come back, man. I don't care.
There is just that part in my brain, Dylan. I don't know. Maybe yesterday just brought me down, man. Where I just look at the Knicks, I look at like the Cavs, and I'm like, they're better than the Atlanta Hawks that beat us in 2021. Like, they're better. They're better than what the Heat team that beat us in 2022. Like, they're better. They're better.
Right now, no, they're not.
The worst teams. We've lost in worse situations.
Yes, but this is what I'm asking you. Pleading with you, man, as my co-host here. Take the recency out of it. And I know it's a long hope, but I'm talking about the playoffs as if the Sixers are healthy. I'm not discussing the playoffs if they're not. There's no point. They're not going to win the first round. I'm talking about them if they're healthy. Go back 3 weeks ago. We thought the Sixers might be the second best team in the East. That's without Buddy Hield. That's without potentially Kyle Lowry. I'm not sitting here post-deadline saying if they get fully healthy, the Cleveland Cavaliers are better than the 76ers. I'm not fucking doing it. I'm not saying the Knicks are better than the 76ers. They made great moves. Hell, they beat the shit out of the Sixers in Philly on a Friday night not too long ago. I am not taking them in 7 games with the MVP on the floor, healthy. Recency bias, it's a bitch, man, and it's tough to get over this ugliness. But again, I'm not talking about the Sixers. If Joel Embiid, has to ramp up even in the second round. I'm not talking about the Sixers if Nico Batum and DeAnthony Melton never get healthy. I'm talking about fully healthy. We loved this team a month ago. Literally thought this team right now could make a deep playoff run. Now you added the league's top 3-point shooter over the last 5 seasons to it. You're probably going to add a champion under this head coach, veteran, and Kyle Lowry in the buyout. You added another 40% 3-point shooter in campaign. I can't sit here and say these other teams are better than the 76ers if they're fully healthy. And by the way,
it's tough for me, man. I think the Knicks have like leapfrogged the Milwaukee.
But why?
Bucks.
But let me ask you this.
I don't know.
Let me ask you this. OG Anunoby's out for 3+ weeks right now. Julius Randle's out for 3+ weeks right now. How are the Knicks better than the 7? Yeah, right now, this version with no Melton and Batum and Embiid, yeah, they're better on the floor right now. But they're injured too.
They're just, I don't know. It's something about them. Like they're deeper and they just play basketball in a better fashion than the Sixers. Like, I don't know how to put it, man, but
I think
they worry me. Like, to be honest, the Knicks worry me if we played them in the playoffs. They do worry me. Jalen Brunson coming back to Philly, like, it does. It does intimidate me what they built in New York. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that I will pick the Knicks over the Sixers in a series, but they definitely concern me. Like, they are top 2.
I mean, Scotty, to be fair, we did pick rookie year Jalen Hurts to go into Tampa Bay and beat the Bucks and Tom Brady. So we're never going to pick on the show against it. But
very fair. Yes, very fair. I guess I'll put it this way. I would look at the Knicks right behind the Celtics as the biggest threat in the East. Right. Second biggest threat in the East. I think they may even be a bigger threat than Milwaukee because of Doc Rivers, quite honestly.
Oh,
I think
I think
that's
they're a
an
bigger
argument.
threat than Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if the Sixers are healthy, they're a bigger threat than Milwaukee.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. It's just it's a big if, right? Like it's just a
a
big if, and it's hard
humongous
for me
if,
to
but guess
fathom.
what? Guess what, brother? It's the
'Cause
only thing. It's the only
yeah,
thing I can hope for.
yeah.
Because if not, if they're not healthy, we're gonna watch the playoffs. We're probably gonna watch them together. We're gonna throw down some
Because
drinks. We're
yesterday
gonna be
felt
hyped.
like a little bit of skepticism from the Sixers, right?
Yep.
Like, we'll go
See,
in a little
that's
bit.
the
We'll go in a
thing,
little
right?
bit, and then we'll
You
come
you
back a
made the
little bit.
buddy move. You made the buddy move around what? 10:30, 11 a.m.
Yeah.
yesterday. We're on the show, and
It's like
it's
we're
like
in,
that is a
Embiid's coming
great
back.
sign that
Yeah.
that they plan on Joel being back. And then all the following moves made you go, hold on. What do they know about this timeline and this injury and recovery?
Yeah.
That maybe Joel's not going to come back. But then I would just ask you, what the fuck is Buddy Hield doing here at all then?
Yeah,
What is he
that's
doing here
the other side of
whatsoever
things,
if he's
man.
not coming back?
It's like maybe you just get him in and hope he likes the culture and makes it easier to sign him back. But like, is he that
Marshall
level of
Lynch,
player? Like, I
I
don't know.
agree, man. And again, we are holding our hats on the fact that this dude at this size is going to come back, get himself in condition, and be even close to what he was at an MVP level. It's a humongous ask, but I got to ask it of him. I need it because, again, people are getting too overreactionary with all these injuries and suggesting that the Sixers roster is not good and it's not constructed well. Bull effing shit. This roster around an MVP caliber Joel Embiid is as close to perfect as you can get. I mean, it's what we thought 4 weeks ago. And now everyone forgets that.
I think to put it in perspective, man, like outside of those top three, maybe even four, right? Like if the Cavs are interesting, but the Knicks scare me more than the Cavs, and I would even I'd probably put the Cavs under the Bucks, but I'm not completely sold on that thought. But that's where I'm at right now. Outside of those four teams, like if you play, somebody in the first round with a 85% Joel Embiid, he's not fully conditioned yet. That he's going to take the time to come around. I can see it, but against any of those teams, I think they do. They just, if he's not at full 100%, it's gonna be really tough, man. But yeah, to y'all's point, if Embiid's not healthy, what are we doing here?
None of it matters.
But
exactly.
It is the other side of the combo that it comes to, you know what I mean? He's never healthy, and then boom, we get to the summer. So I don't know. Yesterday, you could probably tell in my voice and my demeanor that yesterday kind of like sucked some life out of me, but maybe it was just me coming to realization of where we're at right now, and that there was just no way that we were going to fix this team to keep it afloat while Embiid's out.
Because
like, I don't. That's my worry. I don't see how this team stays afloat regardless with the move.
I mean, I think they can stay afloat, but to get marginally better right now, to get a lot better right now, even that Andre Drummond trade we were hoping for to finish off the day. I mean, he wasn't coming in and just saving the fucking day over the next 3 weeks. Right. So, like, it was just, to me, it's been the long-term view. It's just, has he done enough in the long-term view?
Yeah.
Because still, I think that's where we're lacking the most, man. And I don't know what's going to transpire in the buyout. Maybe a backup big somewhere gets bought out that we're not expecting and we make a move. Cool. But every other position, I think you're fine if you're healthy come playoff time. I think you're pretty deep in other areas. I would have just imagined Andre Drummond instead of Paul Reed coming off the bench in the playoffs against the Boston Celtics. I mean, it is a gigantic gap between what the two can do on a basketball floor and help this team win.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying, man. Like, they're just, thinking outside the box. Like, there was no value for like Paul Reed on the market. Like, you couldn't get his contract off and save some money there, or maybe bring somebody back better. Like,
what are the odds Daryl brings in Drummond on like the exception or the league minimum this offseason?
Very good chance. And That's the funny thing with this Sixers team. It's like, oh, you guys are going to bring back Kyle Lowry's from Philly, and I'm sure that'll touch our hearts. And, is that the big switch from Bev to Kyle Lowry's from Philly? I'll be interested to see if they somehow bring Marcus Morris back as well after he got bought out by San Antonio. He's been traded, so he actually can be signed by the Sixers. It is interesting. It does require guys like D-Mel. It requires guys like Batum to like get healthy now. Like they need to come back within the next few games.
Yeah.
Rocco, obviously, we don't know really what's going on with Rocco in all reality.
Man,
But
we don't know
definitely
what's
could use
going on
him.
with half the goddamn team.
Yeah, the illnesses. I mean, is Tyrese Maxey going to feel better tonight? I mean, I don't know. Like that's the thing with this team right now, man. The other side of things, bro, like Turk Smith, like, do you think about giving him a shot down this stretch? I'm just thinking out loud.
I mean,
now.
right
Like,
now,
you
they
want
have
floor
to.
spacing. Like you want energy.
Right now, they 1000% have to. And the funny thing is,
God, it feels like the process, man.
The funny thing is with this crew, he's going to have to play. And I'm not the guy that sits here and goes, give Ricky Council and Terquavian Smith more playing time. They could be an asset.
Yeah.
No, I'm normally not a guy. But you do watch things transpire around the league. I mean, you watch what happens in Miami from time to time. You watch last year with the Christian Brown kid that spelled Braun.
Denver.
He just comes out of nowhere in the postseason as a rookie and helps them bring in a championship. Like
the Warriors.
Something weird could transpire where Turk Smith's a 40% 3-point shooter. He can handle the rock and he finds a role. You better find out now. And I will say to this, I mean, man, it doesn't matter.
I'm not there.
Well, first of all, I'm nowhere. See, again, this is where I think the recency bias. I'm nowhere in the fucking stratosphere when it comes to this. What are we talking about? What do you want? What would the Sixers be doing with any other head coach right now?
Yeah.
You could have Phil Jackson. You could have Greg Popovich. You could have what are they doing?
Yeah.
Dude, Furkan Korkmaz, Jaden Springer, KJ Martin, Mo Bamba have had to play major minutes because of these injuries. This has nothing to do with Nick Nurse, bro. And again, a month ago when he had a team that he could put on the floor, he was the coach of the year to everybody. Guys, please calm down. Calm down. No, I know you don't want him fired. I'm just saying, like, I can't even put 2 ounces of blame into Nick Nurse. Seriously, he's trying everything. He's going big. He's going small ball. He's playing the younger guys. They have nobody, bro.
My eyes are
NBA players.
My eyes are directly on the front office. That's where my eyes are, man. That's where I'm kind of.
Listen,
like,
man. Listen.
Daryl Morey blew the fuck out of me yesterday, and he's kind of blown the fuck out of me several times. I feel, and I don't know. It's always.
First of all,
the Clippers package for Harden,
major pause to what you just said.
What? I don't even remember what I said, man.
He's blown the fuck out of me multiple times.
Oh yeah, I mean, mind blown me. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but once again, he was brought in to be like this, wizard GM that is just gonna make this team better. He's going to bring
this game changer. I hear you. Here's what I'll say, right? Daryl Morey confused and underwhelmed the hell out of me yesterday. Yeah, Scotty did say this for the record, everybody. But my point when it comes to the Nick Nurse comment and now the front office comment, I can just right now, like with what was happening the last couple of weeks. Well, look at what Morey's done, how he constructed this team. Again, guys, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What was Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Nico Batum, DeAnthony Melton, Robert Covington, and Marcus Morris all supposed to be out at the same time? Well, seriously, like that's where I have to pause and say, yes, Daryl Morey did not do a great job yesterday. But Daryl Morey can't predict 6 injuries and illnesses that takes out 4 of the 5 starters and 3 bench pieces, guys. And now we're complaining, well, see what happens with KJ Martin. What do you want him to do? Have 14 stud dudes on the roster that can just step up and play at any minute? Nobody has that. Nobody has that kind of depth. So I'll give him a pause for that. I think he did a good job, a reasonably good job.
I can't with the Tobias Harris stuff either, man. I can't. He's an idiot. Like, I just think he's like a bona fide like dork. Like, that's the way I look at Daryl Morey right now. He looks at these guys like they're chess pieces, but then you sit here and you troll the fans with Tobias Harris tweets, but you haven't said shit while he's been fucking shitting the bed the last 3 games. Like, you haven't said shit.
Correct.
He rubs me the wrong way, man. He's not a basketball guy. Like, that's what bothers me. He's a dork. Like, he's a geek. He's a guy that studies metrics and numbers and this, and campaign has this. Campaign is, shoots 40%.
Can I tell you something?
Patrick Beverly, culture setter leadership doesn't matter. That doesn't get factored in.
Is he a lesser talented version of Howie Roseman? I mean, Howie Roseman's a nerd, bro. Howie's not a football guy.
Read a room. I feel Howie can read a room.
Yeah. Like, that's what I'm saying. Howie is a nerd. Howie is not a football guy.
He has no interpersonal skills. He has no recognition of like humanity. Like, that's Daryl Morey. Like, he's just a calculator.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? I watched Moneyball the other day again.
The box one time, man.
I watched Moneyball again the other day, and it like made me think of what you just said. How like he treats these guys like chess pieces. Because Billy Beane, man. Billy Beane he didn't even watch the games because he didn't go on the road with the team because he didn't want to get too close to these guys if he had to trade them or cut them. That's what Daryl feels like. Daryl just stays away. These guys are just names on a paper.
And to be clear, I think that's fine, but I think there's a line in the sand. There's a fine line of where you make financial decisions and you make what's best for the team decisions. And I don't know, man. He just underwhelms me. He underwhelms me. I think that's the best way to put it. He's not an awful GM. He's not the worst GM in the NBA. He rubs me the wrong way, and he's underwhelming. He just doesn't fulfill the resume or the persona that comes with Daryl Morey.
For sure.
I don't know.
And they did just extend him through what, 2028. So he is here.
Fine. The other side of it is the grass isn't always greener. You don't know who else you would bring in. Like, we had Elton Brand before. It's not like that was sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. So
I mean, I would just throw this out there. I would also say that this year's NBA trade deadline was one of the more lackluster trade deadlines out there. The Sixers probably made the most number of trades. They made one of the bigger trades acquiring Buddy Hield. It's just the fact that it still felt like not enough, right? Because what was the next biggest move? Bojan to the Knicks, probably. And then outside of that, I mean, Kelly Olynyk went somewhere.
Yeah. Which he was for a first-round pick.
DJ Washington went somewhere. Like, just not a ton transpired yesterday, right? So
let's see if you can bring it. Like, I'm just thinking about the Raptors, right? Like, the Raptors, they go out, they do trade the first-round pick. I get it.
What are
the first-round pick in 2024? They traded for Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, I know.
But they also got Ochai Agbaji as well. And so, like, I get it. Ochai Agbaji, not a guy that's going to play this season, right? And maybe it's better for the Raptors, but it's just little things like that, thinking outside the box. Like, Ochai Agbaji, he could develop into a nice 3-and-D athletic type of wing for you in the future. Like, I get it. I'm spiraling here, man. I don't know. They didn't do the worst. You're not wrong. At the end of the day, if Embiid was here, the team would look maybe even better, especially with Buddy Hield. So maybe I'm being too harsh on Daryl Morey, but I don't know. I go back to the Tobias thing, man, because there's no sensibility in that. There's no way that is like the best financial plan for the Sixers. There's no way that builds the Sixers for the future the best way, if that makes sense, right? Like, the draft compensation that you could have gotten for Tobias Harris and get the $30 million and just get something for this guy before he walks in free agency. It's like, that's where it gets confusing for me.
I
because
do
you're so
wonder though,
smart
man.
financially. You're able to make these cutthroat decisions on the margins with like Patrick Beverly, but you can't be cutthroat to
Yeah,
Tobias Harris. Like that's where
I
we draw the
agree.
line.
I
Like
agree.
that's what's weird for me.
I would also say, it's very weird. Just the overall market across the league was very odd, from the
The
rumors to the
Bulls,
deals that
right?
happened.
What they're
I mean, dude,
charging.
the Bulls won multiple first-round picks for Andre Drummond and Alex Caruso,
Yeah.
but meanwhile, Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks go
Yeah.
for seconds and just
Yeah.
junk end of
Yeah.
bench pieces,
And
like
honestly,
second-round picks.
Olynyk shouldn't be involved in a trade that involves a first-round pick.
Right.
Like that's
But Buddy
ridiculous.
Hield goes for multiple seconds. Like, just the market didn't make sense. How does Buddy Hield, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Alec Burks go for seconds while Kelly Olynyk gets a first, and these rumors of other players wanted multiple first? What are we doing here, fellas?
Hey, there's no way, right?
Bro,
He would have to be insane to sign back to Philadelphia, right?
I agree.
Like to deal
I
with
agree.
us,
Bro,
deal with
listen,
the fans.
and I get it, right? Like he wouldn't be a max player, whatever. Could you imagine you think Daryl Morey has lost his fan base right now? Could
Right.
you imagine the reaction when he signs Tobias Harris in this offseason? No matter the cost, bro.
Yeah, it
Probably
doesn't matter.
I'm exaggerating here. You might be, if Daryl Morey signed Tobias Harris for the league minimum. I'm kidding. But if he did, I still think he would get blowback from the fans. I think there are so many fans that are just so sick and tired of seeing him in a Sixers uniform, coming up short, not stepping up when it matters most.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't care what he was brought back for.
Yeah,
I
think that is the thing. Because that was the thing with the Bojan and the Detroit situation. It's like, even if Bojan comes in and is virtually the same player, or you get to the same spot, right? It doesn't work. At least you tried something different.
Right.
Instead of running it back and running it back and running it back and running it back, dog. Like, but man, I mean, you got the Hawks, you got the Wizards these next two games. Let's grab a W and get back on track, man. I'm not
Scotty, man.
I know tonight
you're not grabbing
wild.
There's no way you're grabbing a W tonight, bro.
Hey, if Turk Smith comes out and hits 10 threes tonight, maybe we get lucky. But that Wizards game, let's get back on track, man. Let's start getting healthy. Start bringing a little bit of positivity back to the team. If you get guys like D-Melt back, I think guys like that can really help you. Yeah, it's not as bad as I thought it was yesterday. Hindsight, always moving forward, able to take a emotion away from it. I was underwhelmed. I was disappointed.
Yeah, man, they've lost 7 of the last 8.
Do I hate the team? No, I don't hate the team. I don't hate the organization.
Sadly, I don't hate the team. But in the same way we ended yesterday's show talking about trades and free agency and everything like that, the Phillies, man, those rumors are really picking up steam a little bit on social media from some of these reporters, Scotty, that the Phillies, people are definitely not surprised if the Phillies come in and swoop up either Snell or Montgomery. Montgomery's the name that's picking up more speed. They've been making calls on left-fielded bats. Right now, not getting anything, but Jake Cave's like the fourth outfielder right now or something still. So they're looking to improve that. And then they did make the call on Emmanuel Clase from Cleveland.
I saw that as well.
Which, man, I saw the asking price. They want Justin Crawford. You do it. You know me, man. No prospect is untouchable, especially a project. And I don't even know. Again, I'm not that big into their minor league farm system, but I don't even know if Justin Crawford's top 10, top 8 prospects on the Phillies list right now, as young as he is when he's just being brought up. He's probably top 10, but you make the move. You make the move for an all-star caliber reliever. That's what you do. So
no, I agree.
We'll see. At least team seems to be picking up. Yeah, man. I mean, either one I'm cool with. Montgomery obviously comes with the winning experience, obviously coming off of a World Series championship last year with Texas. Snell brings just Cy Young type of stuff. Now, granted, he's already got 2. So what are the odds that the Phillies bring in a 2-time Cy Young winner and he looks nothing like himself. I'd say pretty good historically. So maybe Montgomery's definitely the way to go, but we'll see. I think Snell might cost a little bit too much, a little bit more than Jordan Montgomery's going to. So
it's interesting. Yeah, Jalen Carter snubbed. Do you call it a snub? I don't know if I call it a snub.
No, I don't call it a snub. I thought that Jalen Carter had a very, very good year. I thought he came out the gates as the favorite. I think he was ridiculous for the first half of the season. I think that he, along with the rest of the defense and that defensive line, took a step back just because of overall team play and everything. Meanwhile, you have the Texans who make the playoffs, win a playoff game. Will Anderson, very big part of that defense. Yeah, I think rightfully so. Will Anderson wins that. I mean, here's where I stand, man. I think that team success has to do with these awards, unless the numbers and the standout for on a bad team are just way too astronomical to overlook. And let's face facts, Jalen Carter's numbers were just not too much to overlook in this situation. I think Will Anderson's were right there, if not better, and had a major role in a young team overachieving and winning a playoff game. I think that matters. So, no, I would not call it a snub like some people.
I do agree, man. It was interesting. People just love to. I get it. It's like it feels like a tough time in Philly sports right now. So you want to just kind of like pile and tally things up, but can't complain about everything, man. We're not going to win everything. It would just be nice to win something.
just defensive rookie of the year is all.
Oh man, it's all good though.
Yeah,
man. Phillies will get us right come spring.
Hopefully. That is going to do it for this Friday edition of the Faithful Fanatic Show, guys. As always, if you're new to the channel, thank you for each and every one of you that comment. Marshall Lynch, Darius, Doc B, wherever you are at times like this. It definitely does feel like tough times, man. If you're new to the channel, though, make sure to support by smashing that subscribe button. It's the best place to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with us. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you Monday morning.
Peace, everybody.